Welcome and settle in. Imagine yourself sinking into a comfortable place, the room quiet, the light dim and friendly, your breath unhurried. Tonight, we are moving slowly into the small and steady world that lives alongside you and within you, the world that keeps you going in 1,000 patient ways. Your day depends on it more than you notice. You would not last long without your microscopic partners, and they ask very little in return, only gentle routines and steady care. If you enjoy falling asleep to calm science, a soft tap on like and subscribe helps a lot. And you can use the playlist link in the description to keep learning quietly while you drift. How sleepy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Let your shoulders loosen. Let your jaw rest. You can imagine the soft hum of a ship at sea, a faint low tone that never hurries. Now think of your body as a coastline and your microbes as the tide. They rise and fall with meals and rest, with daylight and darkness, with your own moods and movements. They do not shout, they persist. They gather where warmth is stable, where moisture lingers, where nutrients pass by in a slow parade. They have learned to fit you, and over time, they have guided you too. Together, you form an ecosystem that prefers calm, that notices rhythm, that feels best when the gentle pattern continues. As you lie there, see the room with soft edges. The fabric of your pillow carries a light, clean scent, maybe a trace of detergent and a whisper of the day's air. Skin touches cloth. On your skin, tiny communities lean into the texture of your life. They live around hair follicles, like villages tucked into sheltered valleys. They spread along your forearms in sparse little constellations. They cling where the skin is warmer and oiled, where life feels more like a cove than an open shore. They do not float alone. They live in company. Some help keep the skin's surface slightly acidic, a quiet shield that discourages intruders. Some sip the oils your skin releases and exchange them for subtle scents, a signature as old as you are. You might not feel them, but you would miss them if they were gone, because balance has a way of making itself known only when it is broken. Imagine it is morning. You open your eyes. Your breath is cool and even for a moment, and inside your mouth, a different landscape wakes up. Your tongue, with its little ridges and valleys, is like a meadow at dawn. Dental enamel is a hillside with smooth slopes, polished by time and a daily ritual of care. On those surfaces, your microbial partners form thin films that bring order to the busy space. A biofilm is like a village made of sugar threads and hints of protein, a structure that holds the people of this place in an easy neighborhood. When you rinse or brush, you do not erase the village entirely. You tidy it. You thin the crowd. You invite air and light to pass through. The result is not a desert. It is a well-kept garden path. Now you drink water. The water's coolness flows over your palate and your throat. Your microbiome, which tried to sleep when you did, senses the first sign of the day's pattern returning. A first taste of something sweet or warm, a first swallow, and the choreography resumes. Saliva, which carries enzymes and minerals that keep your teeth strong, also carries little messages from your microbes. These messages drift along to the gut, saying the day has begun, that nourishment is on the way, that energy will arrive in waves. If you choose yogurt, or a slice of fruit, or a piece of toasted bread, you are not feeding only yourself. You are setting the table for trillions of partners downstream. Imagine the path to your stomach as a soft tunnel with walls like a slow ocean current. You can picture tiny swirls of fluid gently moving what you ate toward a place of deeper mixing. The stomach is an old-fashioned workshop, quiet and steady. Acids and enzymes act like careful craftspeople. They break large shapes into smaller shapes, and some of your friendly microbes pause here, waiting until the environment further along is more suitable. A portion of them arrive alive, despite the acid, because life likes to find a way in quiet corners and in passing moments of shelter. Most will continue onward to the long passages of the small intestine, drifting and rolling in a landscape full of folds, a soft fabric lined with microscopic fringes that wave like a meadow in wind. The small intestine is where your own enzymes perform meticulous work. Sugars are trimmed, proteins are folded into their smallest useful pieces, fats are packaged in graceful droplets. As this careful work happens, your microbial neighbors contribute small tools and gentle signals that coach the immune system to stay alert yet calm. The immune cells in your gut are many, and they are like sentries trained to recognize patterns. They look for composure, for familiar signatures, for the predictable hues of good neighbors. With the help of the steady residents of the gut, these cells learn tolerance and measured response. It is a classroom that never closes, and the lessons are quiet. As the meal proceeds to the large intestine, the scenery changes. The colon is less a corridor and more a town square. It is slower here, more spacious, with many places to stop and settle. Here, the bacteria truly set up home. They meet undigested fibers, the remnants of plants that resisted your own enzymes. They see these fibers as a banquet. They nibble and ferment, and in doing so, they release small, beneficial molecules with lovely names that hint at their character. Acetate, propionate, and butyrate move through the crowd like quiet messengers. They slip into the bloodstream and visit the liver. They feed the cells that line the colon, keeping the wall sturdy and well fed. Butyrate, especially, is like a warm lamp on a winter night for the cells that form your intestinal lining. It fuels their repair and encourages them to knit tightly together, forming a seal that is both flexible and secure. A gentle rhythm continues as these molecules travel. Some whisper to the nervous system through the long wandering nerve that wanders from your brain to your belly. Others enter the circulation and reach distant places. They act like low volume music in the background of your physiology. They say things like, "Stay balanced," Store a little less. Move glucose a little more efficiently. Keep inflammation in a quiet range. You do not need to hear them loudly. The effect is accumulative and understated. With each day of steady meals and friendly fibers, this quiet chemistry reinforces a baseline. Your microbiome does not make grand demands. It asks for diversity of plants, a sense of timing, and space to rest between feasts. Now let the camera of your mind drift to a single cell in the lining of your gut. It is a calm cell with a special duty. It wears a layer of mucus like a smooth robe, a protective garment that keeps harshness away and offers a gentle surface for microbes to approach without touching too closely. The mucus is like a clear, soft gel. It is made fresh all the time and tastes faintly of the carbohydrates that microbes enjoy. Good neighbors politely nibble at the outer layer and never the inner. In return, they release protective byproducts that discourage outsiders, and they nudge the immune system to produce antibodies tuned for peacekeeping. These antibodies, especially the secretory type that likes to bathe surfaces, are like small lanterns hung at the gates. They do not fight a war. They illuminate the familiar. They help keep quiet traffic moving as it should. Think about your liver next, resting under your ribs, dense and steady. Bile acids crafted there flow into the small intestine, little soaps that help you absorb fats. Many microbes can reshape these bile acids, adjusting their chemistry. The modified forms loop back to the liver and tell it how to balance production. The system learns to hum along at a comfortable speed. Cholesterol, bile, fiber, and microbes work together like members of a string quartet, each voice gentling the loudness of the others. The whole sounds smooth and unforced. You would not often feel this harmony directly. You feel it as the absence of friction. In the realm of vitamins, your microbial friends contribute in ways that are both modest and essential. Some species make vitamin K in the quiet halls of the colon, a helpful addition that supports normal clotting. Others create certain B vitamins, tiny but potent sparks for energy metabolism. You likely meet most of your vitamin needs through food, yet the extra boost from your resident flora is like the careful stitching that ensures the quilt holds together at the edges. You would notice its absence if it was suddenly gone, because the edges matter for warmth and comfort. Now return to the mouth for a moment. You might imagine the careful scraping of a tongue cleaner, or the soft circles of a toothbrush at night that tuck the mouth into bed. Oral microbes respond to oxygen and to sugars. Oxygen comes with breath and movement. Sugars arrive with meals. The idea is balance. If the meals are frequent and very sweet, certain residents become energetically talkative. They make acids from sugars, and the enamel feels the change. If space is given between meals, your saliva quietly restores a neutral environment, and the biofilm matures into a community that does less harm and more maintenance. It is all choreography, and it benefits from a slow tempo. You may visualize your nose and sinuses now, a pair of humid caves lined with gentle tissue, warmed by your breath. In these caves, A population of microbes lives like moss on stone, delicate and attached. They contribute small factors that keep their space comfortable. Some release substances that discourage less friendly microbes from settling in these quiet halls. Others simply occupy the seats so that troublemakers wander on. The cilia lining your airway, those tiny hairs that ripple in waves, push mucus up and out with a rhythm as predictable as a metronome. This is your first line of house cleaning in the airways. It is a slow escalator that never switches off. Your microbiome coexists with that motion, tuned to the same steady climb. The lungs themselves are more austere. They prefer fewer guests. Still, a whisper of the world's microbiome passes through every breath. The immune system of the lungs reads these whispers and trains to respond without panic. It is like a library filled with quiet readers who lift their heads only when the noise level rises suddenly. With each calm breath, the library remains composed and the shelves stand in order. On your skin, there are many neighborhoods with distinct moods. The inside of the elbow is sheltered and moist, friendly to species that enjoy the warmth. The forearm is drier, a sunlit plateau where different communities make their steady living. The back is an orchard of hair follicles, each follicle a small well of oil and life. Deodorants, soaps, lotions, and clothing fibers all adjust the landscape a little. Yet the people of your skin adapt. They feed on oils, on dead skin's gentle shed, on trace substances that drift from you as the day moves along. Some guard against rougher characters by occupying space or by making gentle acids that keep the surface in a comfortable range. When you sweat lightly, they are not pushed away. They are carried and resettled like seeds in a breeze. If you have ever noticed the soft, earthy scent that rises from soil after rain, you have smelled the breath of environmental microbes. That scent is called petrichor, and it comes in part from a compound named geosmin, created by soil dwellers as they go about their lives. Your microbiome has relatives in the dirt, on leaves, in air currents, in the water that curls around pebbles in a stream. Though your internal communities are sheltered and selective, your daily life forms gentle links with the wider microbial world. A garden, a park, a forest path, a pot of herbs on a windowsill. Each offers a meeting of histories. Your immune system learns from these meetings to love variety without alarm, to find common language with differences that are not threats. Think about food again, but now as a story that starts long before you eat. A carrot grows in soil and meets the microbes of the earth. A head of cabbage gathers the faintest dusting of lactic acid bacteria on its leaves. Grains dry in open air and meet the communities of a barn. When you bring these foods into your kitchen, you bring with them a gentle background chorus. The kitchen is not a sterile stage. It is a grounded place where life is curated. Washing and cooking shape the chorus. Cutting and mixing change who sings and when. Fermentations like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, and sourdough invite specific communities to compose a song for you. The notes are tangy and comforting. You probably taste the acidity and the creaminess but your gut hears the microbial rhythm and nods along. The colon awaits the fibers that were not wiped away by cooking. The bacteria there are the audience that becomes the orchestra, producing those helpful short-chain acids and other metabolites that whisper to your body. In all of this, your microbes are demanding in the gentlest way. They ask for kindness to yourself, to sleep, to breathe slowly sometimes, to eat fiber. They like routine because routine keeps the feast orderly. When rhythms shift, they adapt if given time. But sudden changes can make the town square of the colon feel like it is hosting a parade at midnight. They are not scolding, they are sensitive. They carry memories of meals and wake cycles and the pace of your weeks. When you are calm and regular, they reward you with quiet stability. Imagine your immune system again, this time as a council meeting in a sunlit room. At the table sit cells with different skills. The wise elders promote tolerance. The scouts return with news of new proteins from last night's supper. The organizers manage the production of helpful antibodies that stay near the gut lining, like friendly doormen at a hotel with good manners. Your microbes attend this meeting as respected long-time residents. They do not shout. They present small, steady tokens of their identity. These tokens, little pieces of cell wall or fragments of DNA, are recognized as familiar. The council nods and carries on. In the presence of friendly neighbors, the immune system learns to respond proportionally, to use exactly what is needed and no more. Every night, while you rest, your microbiome lights its own lanterns. Many microbes have internal clocks that respond to the way you live. When you go to bed, the flow of food stops. The gut changes its cadence. Cleanup waves move along the small intestine, slow rolling contractions that sweep leftover debris into the large intestine. This is the migrating motor rhythm, like a janitor walking the halls with a soft broom after the building closes. In these hours, different microbes thrive, ones that prefer fasting to feasting. They tuck into the inner layers of the biofilm and refuel themselves in a low-energy way, waiting for the next day's floods. If you keep a steady bedtime, these waves come on schedule, and your microbial communities become predictable in their shifts, like a city whose streetlights all know when to glow. There is a conversation between the gut and the brain that likes gentle timing. It does not often rise to the level of conscious thought. It hums in the nerve pathways that sense stretch and chemical changes, in hormones that rise and fall, in metabolites that drift across barriers with courteous restraint. This is why the comfort of a warm, simple meal can feel like a blanket, and why a hectic day with erratic eating can feel like walking against the wind. The vagus nerve, a long ribbon of communication, carries part of this signal. Short-chain fats contribute another part, and other small molecules from microbial metabolism, such as indoles from tryptophan in plants, add their own soft phrases. Tryptophan also feeds your own production of serotonin and melatonin over time, both of which enjoy regular cycles. The body that sleeps with regularity teaches its microbes when to expect rest and when to expect activity, and the microbes return the favor with signals that make regular sleep more likely. Now let yourself imagine the daily dance of the stomach, the pancreas, and the liver, each adjusting to the clock. When breakfast arrives at a consistent time, the genes that control microbial metabolism rise in expectation a little before, as if setting the table. When your lunch comes with vegetables, legumes, or whole grains, a festival for fiber lovers follows hours later, and butyrate lanterns light up along the colon. Dinner that arrives not too late gives time for the night sweepers to do their job, and the next morning the stage is tidy again, ready for a new cycle. Give some attention to the hands, your ambassadors to the world. Their skin changes with the seasons and the tasks you give them. In winter, they may become drier, favoring microbes that tolerate scarce moisture. In summer, the warmth invites others. Washing with plain soap and water is like a gentle rain. It lifts away what does not belong while leaving the resident garden largely intact. Stronger cleansers are like storms. They have their place, especially in settings where safety calls for it, but storms should not be daily weather unless necessary. When you moisturize after washing, you restore the skin's own barrier, and that barrier is a welcome structure for microbial communities that protect you by being there first, by making just enough acidity, by creating small microbial conversations that keep balance. Shift your attention to the scalp. Each hair follicle is a hollow that leads to a quiet chamber. The sebum that flows there is food for specific microbes that have learned to live in that oil. When the scalp is calm, the ecosystem is coherent. When the scalp is stressed by harsh treatments, the ecosystem stumbles and then slowly learns to adapt again. Hair is an ecosystem's meadow, waving gently, guiding airflow, changing the microclimate by the centimetre. Choose gentle care and time, and the meadow keeps waving in its own small weather system without fuss. Further down, the armpit is an orchard that grows a different set of microbes. Here, deodorants and antiperspirants shift the population by changing moisture and salt and acidity. Microbes respond, and the scents they create shift like a melody given to a different instrument. None of this is alarming. It is the biology of place and habit. You are a moving landscape, and your residents compose a soundtrack from what you provide. Warmth, oil, fabric, movement, and attention. The urogenital region has its own careful balances. In the vaginal environment, species of lactobacilli often form a strong foundation. They produce lactic acid, which keeps the pH low and comfortable. This modest acidity is a quiet doorman, welcoming familiar residents and discouraging less suitable visitors. Hormonal patterns change the food available to these microbes, shifting glycogen in the lining tissue. The community responds. A calm routine, breathable fabrics, and gentle hygiene help this place keep its serene character. Neighbouring regions, like the urethra and the glands, have their own light communities, less dense but still part of the larger map. They form a buffer, a layered defense based on presence and poise rather than force. Pause and picture what the microbiome asks of you when you walk through a market. Bright fruits, crisp leaves, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, herbs. The colours are not just for your eyes. Each pigment often hints at special molecules, polyphenols and fibres that reach the colon and give your microbes something to talk about. Variety is like new music for an old orchestra. Not everything every day, but a rotation that feels like seasons. The result is diversity in the microbial town, with many small shops instead of one towering factory. A diverse town is resilient. When a new food arrives or a small stress visits, a diverse community bends without breaking. Some rhythms ask you to rest. Fasting overnight is a quiet gift to your microbes. It lets the colon finish its slow work and gives your small intestine time for that sweeping broom motion. 12 hours of gentle rest between last bite and first bite. When it matches your life, feels like an ocean tide receding so the shorebirds can feed. Your microbiome steps lightly during that time. It is not deprived. It is allowed to finish sentences, to write notes, to reorder shelves. When you wake, breakfast tastes better, and your microbes are ready to greet it. You might sense too that movement affects your communities. A walk, even a gentle one, massages the intestines and encourages the passage of gases and liquids in a way that feels like a breeze through curtains. Blood flow increases to the gut after meals, supporting digestion. Regular movement also supports metabolic balance that invites friendly microbes to flourish. This is not about intensity. It is about a daily conversation between muscles and microbes, between the rhythm of your steps and the rhythm of fermentation in the colon. Each complements the other. When you travel, your microbiome travels with you, but it meets new contexts, new water, new spices, altered meal times. It adapts. You can ease the transition by bringing familiar foods or by choosing simple dishes with fiber that you recognize. After a few days, your microbial communities will begin to understand the new tempo. Their insistence is only that you do not ask them to sprint without a warm-up or to halt without a cool-down. A little patience, and the system finds its new normal. Consider the influence of antibiotics in a calm and respectful way. These medicines are powerful tools that have saved more lives than we can count. They are not precise scalpels for the microbiome. They are broader brushes. When a course is necessary, your resident communities feel it. Populations shrink regardless of their intentions. Afterward, time and care let them regrow. Foods rich in fiber. Fermented foods, if they suit you, rest and patience support that healing. You do not need a complicated plan. You need to remember that the garden will reseed if you water it and give it sun and simplicity. The asking is gentle, the recovery quiet. Let your mind float now along the surfaces inside your body. The inner surface area of your intestines is vast, almost like a low, rolling mountain range covered in microvilli, those tiny little fingers that increase area and hold enzymes like carefully placed tools. Your microbial residents do not live on the tips of those fingers. They prefer the valleys of mucus and the broader basins of the colon. The spatial arrangement matters. It keeps the conversation clear and the friendships polite. If the mucus thins, or if the diet lacks fiber for many days, some microbes may nibble at the mucus too much. You can sense the possibility of discomfort without dwelling on it. Then a return to vegetables, to oats and beans, to roots and fruits, restores the banquet for the microbes and relieves them of the need to nibble at your shelves. The mucus plumps again, and the lining sighs in relief. There are small metabolites with names that sound like whispers: indole, phenylpropionate, urolithin, equol. They arise when your microbes meet plant compounds and transform them gently. Some cross into your bloodstream and visit your muscles and your brain. Their effects are mild but real. They are part of the way that a cup of tea feels earthy, that berries feel bright, that cocoa feels warm. The sense of comfort from a stew, rich in lentils and herbs, is not just warmth. It is chemistry composed by microbes after the meal is done. A second act played in the quiet of your abdomen as you sit and read or lie down to rest. If you listen closely to the story the microbiome tells, you hear themes. One is cooperation across generations. When a baby is born and meets the world, the first residents of the gut come from family and place. Skin to skin, breath to breath, milk to mouth. Human milk carries not only nutrients for the infant, but special sugars that the infant cannot digest. Those sugars feed the baby's early microbes. The milk is like a lullaby sung in two parts, one for the child and one for the child's microbiome. As months pass, solid foods arrive and new microbes join. The immune system learns to welcome and to guard, both at the same time. Over years, the microbiome gains its adult character. It will continue to evolve, but the core is set, a fingerprint of family and food and environment. Another theme is the generosity of stability. Adults with steady routines and diverse, simple diets tend to cultivate diverse microbial communities. Diversity does not mean chaos. It means many ways to do the same essential tasks. It means redundancy that keeps you well even when the day is windy. As age advances, appetites can change and routines can shift. The microbiome remains responsive and benefits from gentle attention. It appreciates soups with legumes, soft cooked vegetables, gentle grains, fermented dairy if it suits you, and regular movement. These elements invite the gut to continue producing the small molecules that support the integrity of the lining and the calm of the immune system. Think about stress in a way that feels like watching rain from a window. Stress rushes the body. It changes hormones, and it shifts blood flow away from digestion. It can also shift the composition of the microbial community for a time. The solution is not to fight stress directly. It is to honor the body's need for pauses, breath, sunlight, a slow cup of tea, gentle conversation. These signals tell the gut that food can be processed in peace, that the night sweepers can do their work, that the orchestra can return to its score. Your microbes are listening for these cues. They do not ask for perfection. They ask for something repeated and kind. At this point, you may notice how sleep and the microbiome reflect each other. A stable microbiome supports normal production of molecules that help regulate sleep and wake, and steady sleep helps maintain a microbiome that performs its daily tasks with predictability. In the evening, as light fades and your eyelids grow heavier, melatonin rises. Some microbes respond to melatonin. They change their own gene expression, adapting their activity for the night shift. This is another layer of harmony, another small clock aligning with yours. The microbiome also has seasonal rhythms. In winter, diets often shift toward warmer, more cooked meals, and in many places, less fresh fruit. In summer, the opposite. Your microbes keep up, adjusting their ratio of fermenters and scavengers, changing which fibers they prefer. If you offer them a bit of variety, even within a season, a sprinkle of herbs, a handful of nuts, a rotating grain, they respond with flexibility. Your internal winter can feel like a cozy hearth, your summer like an open window. You are not only a host, you are also a habitat that shapes who stays and who leaves. The pH of your stomach, the flow rate of your intestines, the oxygen levels in your tissues, and the landscape of your mucus draw maps for your microbial residence. These maps change subtly as you age, as you change habits, as you move from place to place. When you drink enough water, the river flows. When you eat at gentle intervals, the tide comes in and out. When you hold a steady bedtime, night work proceeds without confusion. All of this sounds like common sense, because it is. Your microbes have evolved alongside bodies like yours for countless generations. They thrive when you live a life that would make your grandparents nod. You may enjoy learning that your microbiome actively helps keep your internal territory occupied. This is called colonization resistance. It is not dramatic. It works through simple acts. Friendly residents eat the food, so visitors go hungry. They take the seats, so visitors must stand. They send signals that call local defenses to attention in a measured way. They produce acids and small molecules that are safe for you and uncomfortable for others. It is the presence of a community that keeps a place safe. The way a neighborhood feels secure when porches are lit and people say hello on evening walks. Even the ways in which microbes talk to each other are gentle. They send chemical messages called quorum signals that tell a group when it is time to build a biofilm, when it is time to disperse, when it is time to spend energy, and when it is time to save it. These signals travel tiny distances. They are like the hand signals of a conductor that only the violinist can see. You will not notice them. You will only feel the result as a life that holds together in the background. Pause now, midway through this soft drift. and touch down for a small moment of playfulness that will not disturb your rest. Still awake, comment the secret word, nebula. Let the mind float again to the quiet of your colon, where gases move like soap bubbles in a bath. A good portion of the gas produced by fermentation is hydrogen that becomes food for other microbes and methane for a few. Some gas is absorbed into the blood and released later without fuss. Gentle movement helps, as does time. The body is built for this. Your microbes are not misbehaving. They are doing their jobs, like bakers tending sourdough that rises slowly on a counter at dawn. The sense of craving can also have a microbiome rhythm. The fibers that your microbes prefer often lead to a desire for more of the foods that contain them. After a week with beans, the gut wonders where the beans have gone when they do not appear. After a week with more vegetables, leaves and roots and stalks, the body notices their absence as if a favorite song is missing from the evening. This is not a demand. It is a memory of comfort. Picture now the gentle sealing of the gut barrier as it renews itself continuously. Cells live along the lining for a few days, then they retire, and new cells replace them. Your microbes encourage the right rate of renewal. They invite the assembly of tight junctions, the little protein rivets that hold cells together. They contribute to the production of mucus and to the development of the blood vessels that serve the lining. They are civil engineers working far below the noise of the street. Their paycheck is fiber. Their paycheck is time. In your daily life, a little fermentation in your own kitchen extends the friendship. A jar of sauerkraut quietly bubbles on a counter. The cabbage becomes tender and pleasantly tangy as lactic acid bacteria turn sugars into lactic acid. In yogurt, milk sugars become lactic acid as well, creating the creamy firmness that feels cool on the tongue. These foods carry living microbes if made with care, and even when pasteurized, they carry the signature acid that your resident bacteria easily read. The acid itself and the peptides that accompany it are part of the message. The message says community, patience, preservation. The broader environment contributes too. Pets bring a bit of the outdoors in on their paws and fur. Open windows in mild weather invite the outside microbiome to mix gently with the inside. Houseplants harbour their own tiny worlds of microbes that float on dust motes in the sunlight. Cleaning keeps chaos at bay, but it need not be sterility. Sterility is not the goal of a living home. The goal is a balanced place where friendly communities dominate and a low-level exchange with the broader world keeps the immune system practiced and unafraid. A calm word about food safety fits here like a seatbelt fastened before a slow drive. Cooking proteins to safe temperatures, washing produce, storing leftovers well, and respecting expiration dates set a baseline for comfort. Your microbiome supports you within that boundary. When an occasional misstep happens, your resident communities and your immune system work together to restore order. Again, the point is not vigilance without rest. It is a sad but gentle acknowledgement that the world is full of life and that most of it does not mean you harm. In this context, your own microbial citizens look like neighbours on a street where people sweep their stoops and nod hello. The idea that you could not manage a day without microbes is not a warning. It is a reminder of dependence that feels like family. Without them, digestion would be thin and incomplete. Without them, vitamin supply would lose its edges. Without them, immune training would be a clumsy lesson shouted in the open air rather than a practice rehearsal inside a quiet hall. Without them, your gut lining would work harder to maintain its composure, and your metabolism would miss soft cues that guide appetite and energy. With them, you coast. With them, you experience meals not just as fuel, but as symphonies performed in stages you cannot see. Let yourself imagine a walk. The sidewalk is damp after a light rain. You lift your face to the air and draw in a slow breath. There is a smell of leaves and a sweetness that hints at nearby flowers. In this moment, your nasal microbiome reads the new air. It adjusts, but it does not panic. Your lungs receive the air and warm it, and your cilia carry dust away one tiny wave at a time. Your skin feels the coolness and tightens pores slightly to conserve heat. The sweat that evaporates carries salts that once fed armpit communities. Later, a shower resets the terrain. You return inside, wash your hands with warm water and gentle soap, then dry them on a soft towel. The palms feel clean and quiet, and your resident microbes, already adapted to your lines and folds, resume their place like friends waiting while you step outside for a brief word and come back in to finish a conversation. Night arrives again, as inevitably as a tide. You brush your teeth with slow attention, not to banish, but to balance. You drink a last glass of water, cool and refreshing. You dim the lights and feel your eyelids lower. Inside you, the migrating motor complex begins its rounds, sweeping gently. The microbiome listens and transitions. It is very good at this. A few communities go quiet, while others take a shift. If you wake in the night to stretch or to turn, the internal city adjusts politely. It protects your sleep. It allows you to sleep deeper by taking care of mundane details for you. Imagine a beam of morning sunlight touching a houseplant and lighting dust in the air. Those dust motes are small boats for microbes that do not belong to you and cannot live inside you, but they brush against your skin and remind your immune system of the world's possibilities. Your resident microbes reminded of home. Between those two reminders, you form a flexible, gentle balance that lets you visit forests and city streets, kitchens and libraries, warm rooms in winter and beaches in summer, without losing your sense of inner place. Consider now the small rituals that nourish the relationship. You cook oatmeal and add nuts and berries, a gentle pile of fibers and polyphenols. You brew tea and watch steam curl like a ribbon. You sit with a book or a conversation while oats and tea drift toward the gut and announce themselves. Hours later, deep in the colon, production of butyrate glows like a late lantern lighting up one alley at a time. Your colonocytes, those cells that line the colon, absorb butyrate and use it for energy. They breathe calmly, they divide when needed, and they keep the barrier intact. You feel none of this directly. You simply feel well. Later, you choose a salad with beans and a dressing made of olive oil and lemon. In the mouth, those flavors sing quietly. In the small intestine, fats become tiny droplets wrapped in bile acids. Some bile acids travel all the way to the end of the small intestine and re-enter the bloodstream for delivery back to the liver. Others continue into the colon and meet microbes that alter them in specialized ways. These altered bile acids are returned and become part of the conversation with the liver about how much new bile to make, about how to balance, about how to keep the digestive orchestra from playing too loudly. Perhaps in the afternoon, you slice an apple. Apples carry fibers that hold water and pectin that becomes an especially friendly food for specific microbes. Slices crunch and then yield. Saliva begins the work. In your gut, the pectin persists until it meets the patient residents of your colon. They greet it as a gift, and the chemistry of friendliness continues. You might feel only a sense of satiety that is pleasant and an evening that passes with smooth comfort. When you rest at night, the microbiome participates in the economy of your dreams without intruding. Some of the same pathways that help set circadian rhythms in your brain are influenced by the metabolites your microbes make, by the signals that travel along the vagus, by the timing of your meals. This does not mean your microbes write your dreams. It means they set a good stage for them, and in the morning, you open your eyes in a body whose tenants have kept the house neat, whose residents wait for you to make breakfast again, to greet the day with the same gentle rhythm. If you think of illness, think of it as weather. Storms blow in and pass. Your microbiome adapts to fever and fasting, to medicine and rest. Afterward, the garden recovers. Sometimes that recovery benefits from attention. A soup with barley and vegetables follows a course of medicine. A yogurt with live cultures appears on the table. A walk resumes, not brisk, just steady. The body remembers, and so do its microbial friends. The orchestra tunes up and plays a simple piece before tackling the symphony again. There is patience. There is return. Time moves forward in decades, and the microbiome shifts like a forest aging gracefully. A mature forest holds more tall trees and a shaded understory. In the gut, certain species become more or less abundant. The capacity to ferment fiber remains precious. Your attention to foods that bring comfort to your microbes becomes a gift that returns to you each day. You learn to read your own signals. A day with less fiber feels like a day with fewer birds in the yard. The next day, you scatter seeds again, and the birds return. Your relationship with microbes extends to things you touch. Wool, cotton, wood, and stone host their own quiet populations. Plastic and steel, in contrast, are minimalist in their microbial tastes. Your home is a mosaic where materials and microclimates determine who lives where. A clean cutting board that dries completely between uses does not play host for long. A damp shower curtain invites a film that benefits from a simple wash. A kitchen sponge appreciates a chance to dry or to be replaced on a schedule. These are not chores with urgency. They are like watering a plant on Sunday afternoons. As you drift deeper, imagine your body as a planet seen from space. Blue rivers trace the path of blood. Green forests are the tissues, alive with metabolism. Tiny lights twinkle where microbes spark small chemical processes. The atmosphere is your immune system, calm when the planet is calm, with gentle breezes more common than storms. Your day is the orbit. Your night is the shadow that cools the land. The microbes are citizens with clear jobs, with homes marked by the texture of the land, with habits suited to seasons and schedules. The planet thrives when the citizens are at work and the rivers flow. Consider the molecules that carry smell and taste. Many of the aromas we love are signatures of microbial handiwork. Cheese becomes complex through the action of bacteria and fungi. Soy sauce is a long, slow orchestration of microbes over grain and bean, producing deep, savory notes. Chocolate owes part of its flavor to fermentation of cocoa beans before they are roasted. Bread rises by the breath of yeast and sometimes bacteria, filling dough with bubbles of carbon dioxide that bake into a honeycomb. Each of these foods is a story of human collaboration with microbial partners. When you eat them carefully and with joy, your own microbes join in, and the experience becomes layered across cultures and bodies and ages. It feels like home. In this peaceful inventory, it becomes clear that your microbiome is not an accessory. It is structural. It establishes the humidity, the lighting, and the soundscape of your inner life. It demands routine, not by shouting, but by performing better when you offer it some. It asks for fiber, because fiber is the raw material for the quiet chemicals that make cells in your colon glow with subtle energy. It appreciates steady sleep, because repair always goes faster at night. It benefits from your walks and your laughter, because those habits lower the background level of stress. Your heart rate falls into a pattern that also slows the gut, but not too much, just enough to make digestion smooth. As your breath slows, picture again the layer of mucus that coats your gut. It is a riverbank. Along the far side, the main flow moves. On the near side, eddies curl and small boats tie up for a night. Microbes that live at the edge politely enjoy the hospitality and leave it as they found it. In the morning, the flow increases and a few eddies move along, gently clearing the bank and making room for new visitors. This repeating pattern is beautiful in its simplicity. It is the infrastructure that allows cooperation to happen without friction. It keeps everyone safe and nourished, just as rivers and coasts rely on grasses and reefs. Your body relies on living structures that are not human. Without coral reefs, coasts erode and harbors lose their calm. Without your microbiome, your inner coast would lose its defense and its grace. With it, you are resilient. Your microbes are reefs of function and fields of steadiness. They are windbreaks in your inner land. Think again about the small signals microbes send that affect your metabolism. They influence how your body handles glucose after a meal. They shape the sensitivity of your tissues to insulin. They tune the texture of stool and the comfort of the lower abdomen. They modulate the release of hormones that tell you when you are full and when you are ready to eat again. None of this is controlling. It is advisory. Your body listens, and then it decides. The best decisions happen when advisors are diverse and calm. In all of this, the metaphor of home is helpful. Your body is a house with many rooms. The microbiome is the set of occupants who keep the house lively and comfortable. They dust the corners by consuming leftover fibers. They oil the hinges by producing short-chain fats. They keep the windows clear by maintaining a low level of acidity where needed. They even help set the thermostat by modulating inflammation. That warm and protective response that should be there when needed and nowhere to be found when not. When guests arrive, the house knows itself well and can welcome them without losing its character. There is a gentle dignity in remembering that you are more than one species. You are an ecosystem. You stand at the center and also at the edge, giving the system what it needs and receiving its benefits. You are a shepherd and a meadow, a river and a sailor. When you eat slowly, you feed patience. When you rest, you repair. When you choose foods with roots and seeds and leaves, you choose stories that feed your microbes as well as your muscles. When you open a window in spring, you admit a little of the world to say hello without overwhelming the quiet inside. If your thoughts wander while listening, that is perfect. The world of your microbiome is humble and often invisible. It asks that you fall asleep knowing that these trillions of helpers continue without you. They thrive on consistency and on the simple pleasures of food that once grew in soil and was touched by sun and rain. They prefer unhurried meals and nights that arrive without argument. They respond to kindness toward yourself because that kindness creates the terrain in which they perform best. Imagine one last time the early morning of a day to come. You wake and the room is still. You drink water and feel the cool line it draws down the throat. You eat something warm and something fresh. You step outside and feel the light on your face. Inside, your microbiome wakes and smiles in its own way. The small communities of your mouth tidy themselves and prepare for speech and taste. The residents of your small intestine set out tools for digestion. The colon waits like a patient baker for the fermentable dough to arrive in the afternoon. The rhythm is set. The day feels like music at a sensible volume, with a tempo your feet can follow. You are not alone in your body. You are the host of a well-behaved party, and the party helps you carry the day. As you settle now into deeper rest, let your breath be free and easy. Your body continues its work without any effort from your thoughts. The microbes that share your life continue their small trades and their polite exchanges. Together, you keep the house warm. Together, you make the next day easier. There is nothing to fix tonight. There is only the soft pull of sleep and the comfort of knowing that life's smallest citizens are also its most reliable neighbors. Rest safely, drift softly, and when you wake, bring that same gentleness to your morning. If this quiet journey kept you company, a calm like and a friendly subscribe. Help us release more of these restful stories, as often and as steadily as you need. May your night be easy, your breath smooth, and your microbiome content in its quiet, demanding, and very generous life.